Hello, everyone. This is Millennial X. We are here today because Luigi Mangione, his manifesto got released today. And I guess that this guy, Ken Klippenstein, got access to it and has posted it. It is this short. And there's. I'm on both sides of the fence, really, for manifestos. I think they should not be shown due to the fact that if someone is insane like this person, they could see this as a call of arms, a call to do things that are not acceptable in a civilized society, and to it can cause replications of whatever the behavior is. In the case of the Catholic school shooting back in the day, another trans person could have shot up another school because they didn't like the Catholic teachings, because Catholic schools are everywhere. In this case, more executives could be assassinated, and I mean, not all executives have anything to do with this type of stuff. It could be a decision that's lower down on the totem pole, or it could be different things. But I will get to my thoughts on that at the end. Let me handle things one at a time. But then I do think that these should be shown for the fact that in this case, we can see what the thought process behind this insane person is. Why they thought the things that they thought, potentially, and why what they did is insane. So, in this case, I'm trying to look at this and I'm trying to take it and I'm trying to put context into it so that it is in a way that everyone can understand and analyze, and you can see that this is truly insane and idiotic and psychotic. So, firstly, I want to make a statement on the whole thing because I haven't made a video about this yet since it happened. It is insane to me. It is absolutely insane to me. There are issues with our healthcare system, but taking it upon yourself to murder someone because you think that they are causing issues in the world, no matter what level those issues are, is insane. You know why? Because, so in this case, this person is against the general concept of insurance stuff because it causes pain and suffering. So, firstly, that is a very black and white approach to a very gray topic, because there's a lot of people who get access to insurance who can now handle things medically that they wouldn't have been able to do without that insurance. But then there's also denials of claims that should be covered. And I can get to that and how I think that that should be solved at the end of this. But it's absolutely insane to me that you can try to justify that, oh yeah, well, this guy's an executive for a insurance company that's declining people. Okay. And whenever people are blocking a highway and they block ambulances and people die because of it, do you now support the idea of those cars literally just flattening them? Do you enjoy the concept of all the Black Lives Matter people that have blocked roads, who have blocked services, and who have done things like that? Do you support the idea of someone whose loved one died because a ambulance was blocked, which did happen? It is a fact that it has happened. Do you support the idea of one of them going to a Black Lives Matter household and shooting a Black Lives Matter leader? I can't think of her name right now off the top of my head. But that one gal that was in a whole bunch of trouble because she bought 3 mansions with the money. Do you support the concept of her being shot dead in the street because they blocked traffic and caused people to die? Yes or no? You cannot give... It's not a false equivalency either. I'm sure people are going to say, that's different. No, it's not. Because to any individual, the loss of one individual's life of someone they loved is the world. It only takes one. If you cannot support one, you cannot support the other. I do not support either. I think that the Black Lives Matter group did a lot of bullshit stuff that was probably illegal and definitely was inconvenient for people and definitely caused people to die. Over 30 people were killed during the Black Lives Matter riots. I don't think that they should just be shot and executed in the streets. I would never support that, just like I don't support the idea of this happening to a CEO of a health insurance company. So, let's get to what this actually covers. I'm going to read it real quick because it's just a single paragraph. It says, to the feds, I'll keep this short because I do respect what you do for our country. I don't believe he does. To save you a lengthy investigation, I state plainly that I wasn't working with anyone. This was fairly trivial. Some elementary social engineering, basic CAD, a lot of patience. The spiral notebook, if present, has some straggling notes and to-do lists that illuminate the gist of it. My tech is pretty locked down because I work in engineering, so probably not much info there. I do apologize for any strife of traumas, but it had to be done. So let me address that sentence right there because I work with a lot of engineers. They are not always tech savvy in the terms of security. I know engineering firms have been hit by those malwares that lock everything down. I know that engineering firms have gotten that. And it's been from people who are very intelligent people. But anyways, we'll continue now. I'm just saying that is a very, very bad assumption that because he's an engineer, or in engineering, his tech would be locked down. That's bad. Anyways, frankly, these parasites had it coming. No, they didn't. They are still a human being. They still deserve judgment in a court of law. If you go to the point of having vigilante justice, you will have people killing each other for whatever reason they want. And it won't matter to the person that's already been shot and killed if justice is ever served. A reminder, the U.S. has the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly number 42 in life expectancy. We will come back to that. United is the indecipherable largest company in the U.S. by market cap, behind only Apple, Google, Walmart. It's ahead of Amazon. It has grown and grown, but has our life that's supposed to be has our life expectancy? No. The reality is these indecipherable. I'm guessing indecipherable is actually swearing at this point. Have simply gotten too powerful, and they continue to abuse our country for immense profit because the American public has allowed them to get away with it. Obviously, the problem is more complex, but I do not have space, and frankly, I do not pretend to be the most qualified person to lay out the full argument. But many have illuminated the corruption and greed. Rosenthal and more. Decades ago, and the problems simply remain. It is not an issue of awareness at this point, but clearly power games at play. Evidently, I'm the first to face it with such brutal honesty. So firstly, before we go to the other stuff, let me do this line right, where was it? This one right here. Do you know? There's a lot of young people out there that don't know what the insurance industry was like before the Affordable, air quotes, Care Act was passed. Obamacare is what made these insurance industries like this. Prior to the Affordable Care Act, if you did not have pre-existing conditions, and if you did not have issues that they were concerned about, you could get cheap insurance with low deductibles very easily. Very, very, very easily. And then the Affordable Care Act came along, and it did two things that screwed everyone. One, they made it where you had to cover everyone. You know what the insurance industries did? Since they had to now cover people with diabetes, since they now had to cover people with cancers, since they now had to cover people with all sorts of pre-existing conditions, And let me make this statement really quickly on my personal note. I think someone born with diabetes should have help, as long as that person is trying to maintain their health. Because I have worked with people who are diabetic, who gained it later in life, and who still ate tons of sugar and broke the dietary suggestions of medical professionals on how to take care of themselves. They completely broke it. And they actually said to me while they were eating it, because I said, aren't you not supposed to eat that stuff due to your diabetes? And they said, oh yeah, it might make me go blind later, but I'll handle that if I come to it. That's not the fucking attitude that gets you coverage. That is the attitude that should allow them to refuse your coverage. But to handle the part, the Affordable Care Act made it where you had to do that. You had to allow those people on. Whenever those people are allowed on, you know what the insurance industry is going to do? They're going to charge everyone a higher rate. Before, you could get health insurance as someone with a pre-existing condition. You know what happened? You got put into a high-risk pool. Whenever you were in a high-risk pool, you paid more and your deductibles were higher. You know what happened when everyone was now considered the high-risk pool? Exactly. We all got the higher deductibles. We all got the higher expenses. It was a big middle finger to everyone because now we were all in the pool with the high-risk people. There was no more separation. You lost your reward for being healthy whenever the Affordable Care Act came along. The second thing that the Affordable Care Act did was it required everyone to have insurance. Do you know what this means? This means they no longer have if you go to a McDonald's and they say it'll be $42 for our lunch, you get a Big Mac meal. That's it. $42. And you go, so I don't get choice. It's crazy expensive. I'm going to go to Burger King across the street. And then you go to Burger King across the street. And they go, yeah, we're just going to give you a single cheeseburger meal. And it's going to be $38. And you go, that's less money, but it's also less food. This isn't a good option. And then they go, all right, well, you can try Taco Bell. And then Taco Bell next door says, we'll give you a 3 taco meal. And it's going to be $36.95. And you go, are you shitting me? All of these are grossly expensive. And then guess what? You have no option to just leave anymore. You can't just leave and buy none of the 3 and say, I'll just figure out my own lunch. You can't do that. You now have to buy one of those 3. They have zero reason to reduce their prices because as long as all of them keep their costs at about the same, it's going to come out in the wash. You're going to have it where they will make massive profits because you don't get a damn choice in it. You can thank Obama for that. There's a reason conservatives said the Affordable Care Act is horrible. Anything that Democrats have proposed in the last 2 decades that has a nice, friendly name is the exact opposite. And I will recommend any of you go look at any of their bills with nice, friendly names on them and tell me if you don't see the issues. I'm not getting into those right now, but those 2 things made it where prices went up something like 80% in like 2 years. They shot through the roof. It almost doubled in no time, if not more than that. I can't remember the exact percentages. But the point is, the American public has not allowed them to get away with it. The American government forced you to let them get away with it because you could no longer say, I'll just pass. I'll figure it out later. Now the government said, we're going to fine you if you don't buy one of their shitty ass policies. And yeah, you had the government one, but it's just as bad. It's not, it's a subsidized healthcare so that you get, if your income is low, you can get good policy for free because they use tax money to do it. They use tax money to cover it. That's how that works. Meanwhile, if you are making a good income and you go to them, it's going to be the exact same prices almost as going to United or Blue Cross or any of these other insurance companies. It's just socialism with a bow on it. That's all it is. And guess what? It resulted in everyone paying more. Unless you are the poor sons of bitches that don't try in your life. Because like well, maybe I haven't put that video out yet because hot topics keep coming up. But in my experience, if you are working for a company like McDonald's and you put forth good effort, at least back in the day, you got raises every 3 to 6 months. At least I did. So I am sorry. Maybe your shit is a specific scenario, but I think a lot of people that are not able to cover themselves, because even McDonald's ended up offering health insurance back in the day. But people who aren't able to find a way to get insurance, well, firstly, also, back in the day, you could get your own insurance for far less than you could now. I pay more in a company health insurance policy than I would have back in the day in a buy it myself policy. But we need to remember that anything the American government touches, it gets worse. And this is an example. You screw with a delicate system like the healthcare system, and you end up getting this. Insurance companies shot through the roof in their profitability right after the Affordable Care Act. Go do some research. Look it up. You'll find it's true. All right. Next part that we are going to cover is this part. U.S. has number 1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank number 42 in life expectancy. These are not equivalents. These do not tie together. We are the most expensive healthcare system in the world. Yes, that is due to Affordable Care Act, like I just mentioned. It is due to the fact that I know because I have a family member that is in healthcare. They graduated with a respiratory therapy degree and they went out into the world. And they were like, okay, now I got to go to the state and I've got to get my certification or my license, whatever it was, so that they could work. They then they like limit how many people can actually get their certificates each year. The government is limiting how many people can actually become a doctor and practice as a doctor. The colleges are limiting their programs. Oh, we only accept 26 dental programs. I'm saying it because that's an example of a college near me. I had a friend that really wanted to be a dentist. He looked at the college, he applied for it for 3 semesters, and it only had 20-something people per semester that were accepted into their dental college. That is why you have the most expensive healthcare system. Insurance has negotiated with our hospitals that they will pay an exorbitant amount, but you basically have to have insurance. If you go into a hospital and you say, hey, I just want to pay cash, you know how much cheaper it is? It's like 1/10 of the cost. There is a clip of Pirate Software out there where he's talking about the fact that he was having a medical bill come to him, and then he negotiated it with them, and they wrote off like 95% of what his bill was. And they just took it as a loss. We are the number 1 most expensive healthcare, not because of just, I don't even know how to word it. Like, there is too much. Our system is currently built to not allow enough competition by limiting how many doctors there are. So then those doctors end up having to join big clinic type settings rather than doing private practice. When you have that, you have fewer spots that those insurance companies have to negotiate with, which means you can get fewer price variances. When you get fewer price variances, everything locks in and everything gets more expensive. On top of that, in order to deal with insurance and in order to deal with all this other stuff, we have to have people like the number of people who are doing just billing as administrative work for hospitals has shot through the roof. It has gone through the roof. It skyrocketed in the last 10 years. It is now considered a skill set to know how to code billing on healthcare. It is not because of the doctors that expensive healthcare exists. It is because of the bloat of administration, the government bureaucracy forcing things, and the fact that insurance companies are basically negotiating. If you put it where you no longer had insurance at all, healthcare would come down a lot. On top of that, if you made it where people could actually shop the prices of every single thing that they have in the United States, like you need a shoulder surgery, you can shop your town, your city, and see where the best place is for the price. Congratulations, you're going to save money. But they don't allow that. The in-network stuff, all this other stuff, it stops you from being able to do proper stuff. So that is not a side effect of the medical care itself. That is a side effect of too much red tape. Too much red tape ruins everything. Know that. That is a thing that you will hear me say anytime it comes up. But then we have this. Yet we rank number 42 in life expectancy. Okay? So, I have a friend of my family. She moved here from Belgium years ago. You know what she told me? She told me Belgium is bullshit. And she does not want to see our medical turn into that. You know why? She said, in her words, that if you had a problem, you had to wait. You did not get to come into a doctor's office and just be seen quickly. After the Affordable Care Act, by the way, wait times for hospitals grew drastically. From my experience, it used to be that you could get into a doctor the same day that you called them most of the time. Nowadays, you usually have to wait like a month. If you couldn't get in the day of, you got in the same week most of the time. Back before Affordable Care Act, before Obamacare. But this gal from Belgium said you had to wait months to see anyone. And not everything was covered. It had the same issues as having insurance. You got denied for things that you should not have been denied for. These aren't her words. It was a horrible system where the government said you're going to cost too much if you're too old. Where they said, no, we don't think that you getting a shoulder surgery is worth the money that the government would have to put out on it. Like, the government just filled the role of the United Healthcare. There was no change in how that part worked. But then, so you can see, Belgium's current system is a universal healthcare system that the residents must register with a sickness fund in order to access healthcare services at all. If you didn't register, you couldn't even go to the ER in Belgium. You will be fully denied medical access at all. On top of that, while you are in this universal healthcare system, you still have out-of-pocket expenses like co-payments, pharmaceuticals, and certain services. Okay, we're good on that? Let's see here. They took steps to help with catastrophic health spending, granting automatic entitlement to increased reimbursement for eligible individuals, fully exempting low income individuals from all co-payments. So if you're a poor son of a bitch, you get full coverage at the expense of your peers. And then they strengthened regulations, and they were ensuring that it covers everyone. So point is, they require that you register for this sickness fund. If you don't do it, you get zero care. Zero care. Congratulations. You don't do what they say, you get nothing. Okay? We're good on that with Belgium? All right, cool. So we've now established Belgium, which is a universal healthcare system in Europe, is going to fully deny you care if you are not in their sickness fund. Got that? Cool. And if someone from Belgium is able to explain this and I haven't misunderstood, just put a comment down below, please. But from what this is sounding like, you get nothing if you haven't registered. This is the second part of what the gal that I know personally from Belgium said. You get taxed out the ass. Like wild. To cover all this stuff. All their programs get covered through insane taxation. So yes, you're getting coverage. You're getting help with your health care. But look at this. The current, as of 2023, the current tax rates are 0 to 15,000 euros. What is the average? Average Belgian income salary. Per year. Fat fingering everything. 48,400 is the average. That's the average. Oh my goodness, look at this. The average person in Belgium will pay over 50%, or will pay 50% of their tax, or of their income in taxes. Congratulations. The lowest population pays 25%. There is no one that's fully exempt here. Do you understand that? In Belgium, you all pay taxes, and the lowest tax bracket for them is 25%, a quarter of your earnings. Look at your paycheck right now. 25% of it goes away to Belgium's government for taxes in order for you to get those systems. Do you understand? 15,200 euros is $16,000 a year. That is below our minimum wage. Do you understand? Do you? Because I really question if you guys understand in the back. You hold any job in the United States, that's going to be covered in the equivalent on Europe, on Belgium specifically. Do you understand? Because the average person in Belgium is the top tax bracket, which is 50% of their taxes. And I think that this says that they're are they a progressive? Yeah, they're a progressive tax. So in reality, they won't be quite 50% on average. They'll be, let's see here. The way that progressive works is for the first 15,000, you're paying 25%. And then you take that off. So let me look real quick. They were 48,000 minus 15,200. So then it's another 32. So then they're going to be 40% for their next 26,830. So then minus 26,830. That means for the last 5,970, you're paying 45%. Do you understand how progressive tax systems work? So yeah, it's not quite 50% for the average person, but look at those numbers. They're going to be paying, the bulk of their income falls in 40%, with a little bit higher being in 45%. So I'm going to say that it's probably around 38 to 40% of their income is taxed. 38 to 40%. You're losing a third to 40%. You understand that? That's a big chunk. You understand that? Now, if we look at the average tax rate in the United States, the average tax rate, well, I don't, where is the average tax rate? Da, 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 da. I don't remember if it actually gave me, oh, average tax rate, 8.2%. Someone making $45,000, which is about the same amount as the Belgian side. Because if we look at this, 45,000 US dollars is 42,714 euros. Okay? You understand that? So this is actually slightly higher than, or I guess it's slightly lower than the number that's on their side. But it's very comparable. That's the key. It's only a few thousand apart between the two. The average US percentage on it is 8.2%. 8.2%. Do y'all understand that? 8.2%. That means you are paying a quarter of the taxes as a Belgian. Do you know what you can do with all that extra money? You can put it in the damn bank and save it for your healthcare costs. Do you understand that? It's that easy. You, over your lifetime living in Belgium, will spend more money on your taxes than it would to just cover yourself in the hospital. You lose in those systems. Understand that. Meanwhile, the top 1%, 26%. The average tax rate for the top 1% is 26%. Even our most wealthy are below the basic person in Belgium. Do you really get that much better of care for 4 times your taxes? Do you? You don't. And I get that there's some people that are going to be like, oh, see, we could tax our rich so much more than we are. You could take all the money from the rich, all the money, all their assets, all their companies, sell them all, liquidate them all, and you would still not be able to fund our socialist programs. Do you understand that? You cannot take everything. All you'll do is make people stop investing. They won't want to make companies. They won't want to do shit. They'll just leave. You will lose all of what makes us work. All of it. You can't do that. So take your eat the rich shit and just stop. Because that's not how it works. I get that you want to rebel and be super edgy, but shut up. Socialism literally kills millions of people. Tens of millions of people. In fact, let me just show you guys how many people were killed by, we're just going to limit it straight, no, we're going to, how many people were killed by socialism? Based on provided search results, the estimated number of killed by socialism ranges from 94 million to 200 million people. 100 million, mentioned in 2 sources, referring to the killings under the regime of Lenin, Stalin, Mao Zedong, Kim Jong-un, and Kim Jong-il. Congratulations. Socialism kills hundreds of millions of people. 94 million is quoted from the Black Book of Communism, which includes deaths through executions, man-made hunger, famine, war, deportations, and forced labor. This one, man-made hunger, is a thing that happens with socialism, because in order to feed, or in order to give people jobs, you put them in places that they don't excel, they don't understand, and you take away private property from people. When people own a farm, guess what? Those people, they learn how to do the farming. They learn how to do everything. They have a passion for it. And because of that, the farm works. Whenever you just give people stuff, because the socialist government needs farmers, they don't learn, they don't have a passion, and they don't result in good things. Every socialism that has existed on the world, every socialist government has burned to the ground. And every European country that says, or that you all like to claim are socialist, none of them claim to be socialist. They all say they are capitalist with socialist support structures. Anyways, and then the last one is 150 to 200 million was estimated by historians of the communist experience in the 20th century, citing deaths under communist regimes as enemies of the people. That's the other thing that happens. Socialist / communist, because socialists are just communists with extra patience. But they always kill their opponents. And then they kill their supporters. So, literally kills more people than capitalism has ever killed. By a lot. Anyways. So, we look at all that. We look at the taxes and the fact you don't get as much stuff. You could just save your own shit in your bank account, invest it in something, and then still pay for yourself. If we actually removed the necessary requirement of insurance and instead made it where you could actually shop for healthcare the way that you do for shoes, we would have competition. It would cause everyone to reduce their prices. The billing administrative layer of hospitals would go drastically down because they don't need it as much. Everything would return. If it would balance out, if costs would reduce, everything would be better. But here's the key, or here's another point, I guess I should say. There's a study. This is a study on PubMed. And I was researching how much of our pharmaceuticals in the world originate out of the United States. The United States is responsible for the development of 43.7% of pharmaceuticals. Okay? Their conclusion was higher prescription drug spending in the United States does not disproportionately privilege domestic innovation. That is saying that the price of the drug does not proportionally reduce or result in better investment or better research. I just had a stroke. So I don't care about that part. That's my key. I don't care about the cost of the drug. I don't. I care about this part. The United States alone is responsible for 43.7% of pharmaceutical innovation. Europe, where you at? You guys have all those countries. We are responsible for 43.7% of all of the progress. Take 43% of pharmaceuticals and just remove them and tell me. Also, don't forget about the fact that oftentimes pharmaceutical A can cause a breakthrough that results in pharmaceutical B. It is not a linear, it is an exponential. But 43.7% come from the fact that we have a system that actually rewards companies for putting time and effort and money into researching new pharmaceuticals. I do think there should be a limit and a change on how pharmaceutical patenting works. Because, for example, I have diabetic friends that do take care of themselves. And their insulin shot through the roof as soon as Biden came into office. Because Trump had that system in place where insulin costs were reduced. It got immediately overturned just because Trump had written it. Biden didn't want it and the Democrats didn't want it. So they immediately overthrew it and people's insulin shot through the roof. And the guy that, I can't think of his name now all of a sudden, that weasel looking son of a bitch that had like an esports team and bought the patent for it and all that. He started charging like 700% upcharge for what it was before to now. I think that pharmaceutical drugs, after a certain amount of time, there is no ability, none, zero, zilch, for them to be extended on patents. I don't know if it's based on the money that they've made. I think personally it would be great to have it be based on money. So if a pharmaceutical is made, if we said, hey, you get your patent until you have recouped 200% the cost of your research and development budget. Okay, cool. They can charge you an arm and a leg, and it will result in them hitting their 200% much faster. Or they can charge you a much lower amount that's much more affordable, and their patent lasts longer. If they charge you an arm and a leg, it hits generic much faster. And competitors can make that pharmaceutical much faster. And it results in us never having a pharmaceutical that can help people locked behind anyone's greed. It doesn't matter if they're left, right, or center. No one's greed can ever lock us out of a pharmaceutical. And if a company doesn't make the pharmaceutical for, we'll say, a year after they've made the patent and put it on market, it goes to being able to be made as a generic. That way you can't have someone patent it, sell up to 198% of their investment, and then just stop to hold it forever. No, that's not allowed. 1 year passes after you stopped making it, it's officially available for generic. That's my personal policy, or that's my personal thought on what would be a great policy. So that's that. And then let's take a super quick look at this part right here. Oh, you've got to be joking me. No thanks. Roughly number 42 in life expectancy. That key part right there. Number 42 in life expectancy. Firstly, let's look at the difference between number 1 and number 42. Number 1, 87.14 years. Cool. United States is right about... Oh, where are we? Where are we? Did I pass it? I might have passed it. Where are we? I might have passed it. United Arab Emirates. There we are. 79.89. 79.89 versus 87.14. 8 years difference between the number 1 and us. 8 years difference. 8. If we look at Belgium, the place that I've just been focusing on because I personally know someone from there, they're 82. It's a 3-year difference between us and them. 3 years. 3. And you know what? That's not due to our health care. I will guarantee you, an American surgeon, an American doctor can do just as good of a job as literally any other doctor. Hong Kong has garbage doctors, but their life expectancy is still 86 years. You know why that is? Do you want to guess why? Well, I'll tell you one thing. Our favorite raspy-voiced former Democrat is onto it. Foods. It's all about foods. You notice we eat a lot of stuff that's not considered healthy. So I did a little hacking. No, I didn't do hacking. But I did do a little trick really quickly. So you can see it's what foods are banned in Europe but not banned in the US. The European Union prohibits many food additives and various drugs that are widely used in American foods. Okay, so we can see that. Yeah, I got the text from it. So you can see this matches. Ta-da. So, for example, really quickly, what foods are banned in Europe but not banned in the United States? And what are the implications? European Union prohibits or severely restricts many food additives that have been linked to cancer or that are still used in American-made bread, cookies, soft drinks, and other processed food. Europe also bars the use of several drugs that are used in farm animals in the United States. And many European countries limit the cultivation and import of genetically modified foods. So they limit GMOs, and drugs that are put into farm animals that are allowed here, and many other additives that are linked to cancer in the United States. Do we see where we might have the 8 years difference between us and the number one country in terms of life expectancy? Just from the one sentence? Because it seems pretty straightforward to anyone with any brain cells that food matters. What you put in you matters. The United States has shifted to an approach that is put as many pharmaceuticals in you as possible, and we eat way too much processed food. Way too much. Then, in some cases, food processing companies will reformulate food just for sale in Europe, but continue to sell the additives here in the United States. Said Lisa Y. Lefferts, senior scientist at the Center for Science. Whoa. All right, I'm going to scroll this way. In the public interest. That is a food safety organization. 1958 amendment to the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act prohibits the Food and Drug Administration from approving food additives that are linked to cancer. But an agency spokeswoman said that many substances that were in use before passage of the amendment, known as the Delaney Amendment, are considered to have prior approval and therefore are not regulated as food additives. That's weasel words by a weasel son of a bitch. I don't care about that. You cannot grandfather in cancerous agents. Cigarettes don't get to just be exempt of things because, oh, they're the same ingredients they always were. No, you had to start labeling stuff. Or you had to, well, in their case, they had to label stuff because the whole thing of a cigarette is the cancer-causing agent. My point stands. And it's very quickly, shown. Potassium bromate and isodicarbonamide. Oh, that azodicarbonamide. That one, ADA, are commonly added to baked goods, but neither is required. And this is what RFK is talking about. There is stuff that is added to our stuff that is not required to make it work and to make it taste good, but it's added for whatever reason. So the point is, this is most likely our reason for our 8-year difference between the United States and who was the number one? It was Monaco. The United States and Monaco. The 8-year difference is probably due to food. And luckily, we are about to have a person in the government that is fully against these additives being allowed and will actually be fighting to have them removed. And once they are removed, if people go back to exercising, because we're not even talking about the fact that Americans are morbidly obese. We are morbidly obese. And we are still within 8 years. Obesity rate in America, 2024. Obesity rate in America, 40% are now obese. 40% are now obese, okay? Monaco's obesity is... they don't even have a thing for it. That's a bummer. However, it's worth noting that Monaco's relatively low obesity rate compared to other countries, according to the World Health Organization. It's estimated 12%. So a fucking quarter. A quarter of theirs compared to ours. We are at 40%. They are at 12%. Obesity, eating foods that have stuff that causes cancer, is easily able to cover the 8 years difference. So with that, I rest my case. You want to live this long? Eat healthy. Stop going to McDonald's. Make your own food. Go to your butcher and get meat straight. Grow your own vegetables. Do all this stuff to make your life a healthier life. Go work out. Go do everything you can to make sure you are healthy without pharmaceuticals. And then you will live well past 87. I guarantee it, as long as tragedy doesn't happen. Heart attacks can still happen even if you're healthy, but it's greatly reduced. Do not be obese. Eat less processed food. And the United States will be, I think, number one. I think that the only reason we are not number one is because America has a I like too much bad food situation. But at the same time, we don't have to do this insane taxation. Meanwhile, so a really quick wrap up. I think that pharmaceuticals need a change to how their patenting system works, as it is a public good to have access to those pharmaceuticals. I say that it's good to give that pharmaceutical company an ability to recover what they put into it investment-wise, plus double, and then doubling it, so that it's if they spent $2 million, they can get $2 million profit on top of it. Maybe it needs to be a little bit higher. Maybe it's if you spent $2 million, you get $5 million. I don't know. That's something that can be discussed as a policy. But doing that will allow for competition. It will prevent ever having a case where insulin is able to be marked up 800% and you don't get a choice. It would require zero government funding to do it. You would not have to subsidize anything. You don't have to subsidize diabetics' insulin pumps in order for them to get affordable insulin if you implement that policy. Number two, as far as hospitals, every hospital must put the cost of everything that they do, and their prices cannot change. Everyone is paying the cash amount. They cannot have a price for if you're insured and a price for if you're cash. Whatever they are charging cash-wise is what they charge everyone. There's no more negotiation. There's no more of that shit. It gets rid of networks. It gets rid of everything. Insurance is treated like a bank account. And then the number three, insurance must clearly label what is covered and what is not covered. If you are getting, we'll say, if you go to the dentist to get a tooth removed, if it covers general anesthesias, tooth removal, and fillings, or not fillings, it's not a cap, an implant. If your insurance says that it's going to cover all three of those, and your dentist does all three of those, there's no denial of it. If an insurance company is found to deny something that is clearly marked as covered, a claim can be sent to a court, or a lawsuit can be started with a court, and the second that documentation is produced showing that insurance company said they would cover that thing, guess what happens? The court case is immediately settled. The amount that is rewarded is whatever the lawyer's fees are, plus double of what the procedure would have cost. So if those three things would have cost you $2,000 and they say no, congratulations, you are now getting $4,000 out of the court case. You yourself, as the person that had to go through the procedure, is now getting $4,000. So congratulations, you've now made it where insurance companies can't bullshit deny you. Hospitals have to actually start doing competition. Oh, and government needs to stop limiting how many doctors can actually come out of school. And schools need to stop limiting how many doctors can go into school. We need more doctors. More doctors means more, it means faster times in, and it means less expensive. Because the more people that are out there, think about plumbers. Yeah, they're all kind of expensive. But if there were only 2, they'd be probably 10 times the price. You know why? Because there's way too many people, they don't have the time for it, and they know that you don't have a choice. You've got to pay one of the 2 of them to get your toilet fixed. So do those things, and I'm willing to bet that our prices would drop. People would be much more satisfied with their insurance because insurance knows they can't bullshit you and deny you when you are clearly covered. And then the government can get just out of the way. In general. Always get the government out of the way. Smaller government always results in better results. So, this is a long video. There was a lot to cover because Luigi is an idiot. I know I said that I don't like to attack people's intelligence, but these 2 things are not correlated. This second one is purely because of personal choices. We are free to make our own choices. If you choose to be fat and out of shape and eat bad food, whenever you die at 60, you die at 60. Whenever I work out, try to eat healthy, and I die at 98, I die at 98. That's just how it is. But with that, I'm going to say thank you all for watching. This was a long video. I apologize for that, but I had to get a lot of ground, a lot of setup, and a lot of things across. So thank you, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.